there's this question I need to ask. So those children, that upon their death they were either scarred or burnt, and then they get reborn, and you're seeing this same scar and you're seeing these burn marks. Can science explain this part? Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Uche, and if this is your first time on this channel and you're not subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. But anyways, please click on the subscribe button down below so you get notified whenever I post a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back to this channel. I hope I'm giving you value with the content that I'm posting out here, and I also hope you're reading as well. If you have any books that you feel you want me to read and review, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'll look for the books, read them, and come and say my bit here. So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the book Dear Senthuran, a Black Spirit Memoir by Akwaeke Emezi. So I've reviewed that first book, Freshwater, and a subscriber asked me to review the book Dear Senthuran, and I said to get in the book. I read it, and here we are. So this book was published in June 2021, a few months back, and I feel this is a sequel to Akwaeke's first book, Freshwater. It is a semi-autobiography, and I feel this book is an answer to some of the questions that were raised by our first book, Freshwater. But first of all, let's look at the book cover. So for the book cover is quite strange, and it evokes this eerie feeling because there's a cat wearing a suit, then there's this illustration of the author's face, and there's a naked body kind of that is painted yellow. So I don't really know the significance of these images, but I'll say the cover is cool. It's okay. I don't think it really says much apart from the fact that okay, Akwaeke Emezi, she has a cat, she's a cat lover, and that's just it. But anyways, in her first book, Freshwater, Akwaeke Emezi talked about being an Ogbanje and how Ogbanje was an identity to her. And people ask the questions that, oh, you're not fully Nigerian, so how is it that you know so much about being an Ogbanje and even claim to be an Ogbanje? And we all know that Akwaeke Emezi is a Nigerian Tamil author, so her father is a Nigerian while her mother is a Tamil woman. From the beginning of the book, I just felt like Akwaeke Emezi was forming a background story to tell you that not only is she Nigerian, she has also lived in Nigeria from when she was a kid before she moved overseas. So she was trying to give us this background story of how she's very much a Nigerian as you are. So at the beginning she talked about living in Aba in the 90s. So living in Aba in the 90s is just to give this credence to our affiliation to Igbo cosmology. So she talked about the Bakassi boys. So if you do not know about Bakassi boys were really a big thing in the 90s. Just so that I don't talk too much, go and watch the movie Isakaba. I'll be leaving a link to the Isakaba movies in my description box down below. So I just want you to get an inkling of the operations of the Bakassi boys in the eastern part of Nigeria in the 90s. So if you look at the movie title Isakaba, it's just Bakassi turned backwards, yeah. So she talked about the Bakassi boys, and she also talked about intertribal wars in Nigeria. The three main tribes in Nigeria are Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausa. But the two main tribes that have squabbles with each other right from time, I would say, was even one of the underlying factors that contributed to the Nigerian Civil War in 1967 to 1970. The two main tribes that have issues with each other is the Igbo tribe and the Hausa tribe. Now there's just this cold, subtle war between both tribes, but Akwaeke Emezi talks about these intertribal wars. You know how in Kaduna some Igbos were killed by Hausa people and their bodies were sent down to the east, and how the Igbos in retaliation, the mosque that was in Aba, they raided the mosques, burnt, there was just burning, killing, and all these unnecessary things. So the author talks about this and how she has experienced this. This book is written in an epistolary form. It is written in form of letters. That's why it's called a Black Spirit memoir. So the way she writes this book, the title of each chapter is kind of like, maybe for instance, there will be Dear Senthuran, Dear Nonso / money. In these letters to different individuals in her lives, she talks about a particular aspect of her life. It could be money, it could be consummation, it could be anything that she wants to talk about. The author talks a whole lot about herself. She talks about depression, she talks about suicide, she talks about her surgery, she talks about the uneasy relationship that she has with her mother, she talks about her relationships with men, she talks about sex, and this time around she goes in depth on the surgeries that she had. So from the first book we know that she did a breast reduction surgery, but now in this book she's telling us that not only did she have a breast reduction surgery, she removed her breast totally, she removed her reproductive organs, so she doesn't have a period and she cannot reproduce. And oh my god, when I read that part, it felt so strange because that's the first time hearing of this, and it felt so unreal, but it's what really happened. Because if you follow her on her social media page, you see scars to corroborate the story that that she has had surgery done. And then the author also talks about being abused as a child. So as a 12-year-old, she was abused by a neighbor, but she couldn't voice it out because this neighbor was someone that had rushed her younger sister to the hospital when her sister was involved in an accident. The author goes in depth about her writing, so how she started with her writing and the patience that she had to exercise, the endurance that she had to embody just to get to her writing goal. So for her writing, it feels like a grass to grace story because she talks about how she started, how she had to abandon an MFA writing program and how she had to change publisher, and how she had to rate her work. And I would just say the author is balling because the books that she's writing is generating money for her. And another thing I would like to add is that this author, from the words that she says in this book, she strikes me as someone who really loves writing. So she's just about releasing books, she's just about writing, like she's writing continuously, like she doesn't want to stop, so she just keeps writing, and she's someone that her writing excites her, and I feel that's one of the things I love about this book. So now guys, to really enjoy this book, you need to cleanse your mind of anything that you might have heard about Akwaeke Emezi, any grudge that you hold, because for Nigerians now, we are holding this grudge because there's this attachment that we Africans or Nigerians, we have with our beliefs. So when someone comes and is deviating from the norm, we tend to begrudge the person. So if you want to read this book and really understand what this author is saying, you just have to remove your mind from any controversy that she might have been surrounded with, either with Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Just remove your mind from it and read this book as a single work from one author. So now, one thing I'll commend this author for is the uniqueness of her story. So it's not every day you see an author write a book and publish it, and in the book she's telling you that, hey, I'm an Ogbanje. So as it concerns Igbo cosmology, Ogbanje is actually very strange, and it breaks the norm for someone to just open her mouth and say, I'm an Ogbanje. So now this idea of being an Ogbanje is something that is shameful, in the sense that once an Ogbanje is spotted, people go around you in whispers. Of course, nobody is really bold enough to come say to your face that you're an Ogbanje, unless your EUWA has been destroyed. So by EUWA, it just means that an Ogbanje child has some earthly possessions that are very, very dear to them, and it serves as their link to the other world. So most times they hide it in trees, they hide it at the top of the roof, they hide it in places where you would not think to go to. So once this EUWA is destroyed by a traditionalist, it just cuts off this Ogbanje's link to the other world. And Akwaeke Emezi tells us that this EUWA is in her body, so you can't come and cut her body and remove the EUWA and say you want to destroy it. But this author is actually very confusing because she does a lot. I mean, of course she's not doing it on purpose, but it's actually confusing. And I get that because I'm not an Ogbanje, so I don't really know how this Ogbanje thing works in the spirit world. So the knowledge I have on Ogbanje is what I've been told by older ones in my family, people that I grew up in the village, because I did consult with my dad as regards this Ogbanje issue. You know, when I finished reading the book, I was telling my dad, okay, this was what this author was saying, and he had his own views to share. And I've read works from Wole Soyinka on Abiku, because Ogbanje is the same as Abiku in Yoruba culture. Then from J.P. Clark, and also in Chinua Achebe's book Things Fall Apart, there's this talk about an Ogbanje child. I can't remember the character now, but then this author seems to be one that is very proud of her Ogbanje identity, and she really embodies it and she's owning it. But then I have a problem with this, and that was where questions were raised in my mind, because now the understanding I have of this author's work, and even in connection with Freshwater, is she's taking Ogbanje to be an identity. So now, remember I've said that this author is owning the fact that she's an Ogbanje, but then I feel the way she's owning this Ogbanje identity is just the same way you own being a homosexual, being a non-binary individual. And then I feel that is where I have questions, because being an Ogbanje is not really an identity. Yeah, it's not an identity as you say, okay, I'm a heterosexual person or I'm a homosexual. It's not like that, because being an Ogbanje transcends the physical. It's more than what is physical. It's basically spiritual. So I feel being an Ogbanje is just the spiritual that is manifested in the physical, and that was where I expected the author to touch on, but I wasn't really seeing so much about the spiritual. I was just seeing about the physical, the surgery that she has undergone, and it just felt quite confusing. I was really confused about it, because from my knowledge of Ogbanje children, they are seen as children that are malicious spirits. They are very jealous, in the sense that once an Ogbanje child finds a human body to birth it and keeps dying and coming back and keeps dying and coming back, it doesn't allow other children to come out from that womb. So Ogbanje children are usually only child. Yeah, so that's just the normal belief here. So it's possible that the Ogbanje children might have older ones, maybe other children have been born before they are born, but then it doesn't allow other children to come. And from what we know about Akwaeke Emezi's personal life, she has a younger sister, and you know, this just sort of puts question. It just differs from what we know. So for Ogbanje children, it's like a secret. They do not want to be known. They don't want to be exposed. But then the pattern at which they die and are reborn is what exposes them. That is why when a child is said to be an Ogbanje, once the child dies, the child is either scarred or burnt. And then when the Ogbanje child is reborn and you see that scar or you see burn marks, it's strange, yeah, but then it's true. Okay, let's say a few months ago, a dead child was scarred or a dead child was burnt, and another child is born now with that scar or with that burn marks, and it just begs the question that, okay, is this thing really true? Because sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. Yes, that's just what it is. So there are so many questions to be raised, and if you want to go in depth, you might come to say that, oh, Akwaeke is lying, oh, she's just trying to milk this Ogbanje story because, okay, white people would be interested in this because it beats the norm. It's kind of like a never been told story. But then I'm not an Ogbanje. You are not an Ogbanje. We don't belong in the spirit world, so we can't really say. We can only pair our story with what we know and say, okay, there are some holes here, there are some things that are not quite clear. Now, in the chapter Mutilation, Akwaeke Emezi quoted this scholar, Mr. Bastian, and I'm going to read from that quote here. So it says, to be an Ogbanje is to be categorized as other, and to bring authority home in a way that transcends the more ordinary bifurcated otherness of gender. This other gender is marked from birth, as male and female statuses are marked by special behaviors towards and physical adornment of the child. The sexual appearance of the Ogbanje may indeed be seen as a sham, yet another promise that the Ogbanje is likely to break in its refusal to act according to human norms. This excerpt was gotten from Mr. Bastian's work, Irregular Visitors, Narratives about Ogbanje, Spirit Children in Southern Nigeria, Popular Writing. So, Akwaeke uses this excerpt as the basis for writing about mutilation, having no gender, being neither male or female, and I don't know, I feel this is quite confusing. If you read this, there are different ways to interpret this, and I would have been more comfortable with this if she had quoted a Nigerian traditionalist, someone that has an in-depth knowledge of Ogbanje children. But then Mr. Bastian, I would say she's a researcher, so there will be these barriers in interpretation, and it's just going to bring about this complexity. And I would say this essay that I've read, I just understand it to mean, okay, it's been said that spirits, they don't have any gender, that they're nothing like male and female in the spirit world, and now the Ogbanje children only take the available gender in the human world. I feel there's just a whole mix-up about Ogbanje as said by Akwaeke Emezi. And yes, there are some schools of thought that have come to say, okay, Ogbanje children, they are not real. It's just a figment of imagination, and it's just because of ignorance. That is why Nigerians term some children as Ogbanje, because with the advent of westernization, with the advent of colonization also, and science, it's been said that the major cause of mortality rate among children was sickle cell anemia, and it's fine. This explanation, it's been corroborated several times, this sickle cell anemia issue. But then there's this question I need to ask. Yeah, so those children that upon their death they were either scarred or burnt, and then they get reborn, and you're seeing this same scar and you're seeing these burn marks. Can science explain this part? I really need science to explain. So yes, you might explain Ogbanje away, but I feel like Ogbanje children are real. I feel they are, even though they might not be as popular as it is in the olden times, because some things have been set straight, but then I feel they are real. Because according to what my dad said sometimes these spirits come into a family to teach a person a lesson. Like, he told me a story of this woman in their village, because my dad grew up in his village. So he told me a story about this woman who was always passing a shrine at night. So she was always going home late, and every time she passes that shrine, she was always making noise. And it's believed that spirits from the spirit world, it's at night that they operate, when the humans are asleep. That's when they go about their business, and she was always disturbing them. So she got pregnant, and she gave birth to a baby that was deformed, and this baby died immediately. So there was this speculation, there was this talk that, okay, that the gods had probably done that to her to teach her a lesson. So and I'll say it again, I just feel sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. And at this point in time, I would have loved to hear what late Chinua Achebe would have to say about Akwaeke Emezi claiming to be an Ogbanje, because Chinua Achebe did write about Ogbanje children in his book Things Fall Apart. So as someone that's very elderly in the society, when he was still alive, I just feel there's so much to learn from the older generation, and that's just where I'll leave it be, because at this point it's just safe to just believe whatever you want. So believe what works for you. This book, it was confusing, yes, but it was actually a very good read. This book really had me smiling at the end, because from the author's last words in the book, it breeds uncertainty but hope for the future. So I would say Akwaeke Emezi is actually a very brilliant writer. I mean, her writing style is wow. At points I was reading this book, I was like, this author is just very good with words. I would also want to apologize if in any case I might have referred to the author as she. There's no she. The author is a non-binary individual, so they. But I don't want you to be confused, so That's all right, guys. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope the points that I've raised concerning this book resonates with you. Please let me know what you feel in the comment section down below. I would really love to hear your thoughts on this book. Please like this video, share this video with your friends, and also subscribe to my channel. I'll be seeing you in my very next video. Bye.